Most preposterously, that's not even the most ridiculous stuff from the CBC and the rest. A CBC reporter interviewed the Canadian Minister of Public Safety, Marco Mendicino, and Mendicino said the convoy protesters are a bunch of extremists carrying Confederate flags. And the CBC reporter asked if Russia is behind the convoy. This whole thing is a Russian op. Get this.
I think we can draw some bright lines around those who are wantonly spreading lies and hate. We've already seen people who are equating vaccine mandates to an ushering in of a new era like Nazi Germany. We're seeing the flying of Confederate flags, and we're seeing, frankly, some organizers incite others to overthrow the government through violence. And frankly, there's just too much of that for the leaders of this convoy, which is not about freedom, and it's certainly not about truckers. And I know that, and I think we all know that, because truckers have put some significant distance between themselves and this convoy.
Given Canada's support of Ukraine in this current crisis with Russia, I don't know if it's far-fetched to ask, but there is concern that Russian actors could be continuing to fuel things as this protest grows, but perhaps even instigating it from the outset.
Okay. So it is it's not far-fetched to think that this whole thing is a massive Russian op, but it's totally preposterous to believe that this many people could just value basic freedom and value basic rights, not to be stabbed against their will. There's just no way that this many people could authentically believe that this corona crap is a bunch of nonsense and that the government has no legitimate business forcing a vaccine on you. That is just beyond belief. But Vladimir Putin somehow wrangled like tens of thousands of people to participate in this miles and miles long convoy because he has, I guess this is his best way to undermine the Ukrainian defenses.
Yeah.
He could just roll into Ukraine right now, but instead he has to weaken their Canadian support through orchestrating a convoy.
They're really trying to spin this. This wouldn't have even occurred to me if the current political climate surrounding Russia wasn't so volatile.
Yeah, that's a next level stretch, but they're going for it. About the Confederate flag that he referenced.
Did you also see reports of a Nazi flag?
What I've heard them describe and what I have seen images of is people calling the Canadian government Nazis, calling the mandate the makers of the mandates Nazis. Not it's the same way like with Gretchen Whitmer at the protests at the Michigan State Capitol. They had people with signs that said Whitler with her with a Hitler mustache.
Right, yeah.
And they made that sound like it was pro-Hitler, but they were calling the authority Hitler.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, there's another thing I forgot to, on that topic, there's a thing I forgot to put in the notes, and I don't have it. I wish I did. But the Washington Post put out a cartoon this weekend that it was a convoy of trucks, and all the trucks said fascist. And number one, I don't even get the joke. But two, what's the premise here? That opposing authority is fascism? It was ridiculous. You should check it out.
More information than that.
Huh. Yeah. Just think of it as a sophisticated leftist meme. They can't do basic memes on Twitter. They certainly can't do sophisticated political cartoons in the pages of the Washington Post. But anyway, so the guy mentions the Confederate flag. There is this one guy around Parliament carrying around this Confederate flag. And funny, his face is fully covered with a mask. Also funny, he has his own... He either has his own photographer, as you can see in the photo here, kind of in the middle of the screen, or he has a media guy who is only interested in photographing him to feature him in whatever report is being written. And the crowd kind of shunned this guy and got him out of there. But I have not seen, this is the only evidence of Confederate flags I've seen is one guy. And as far as I know, we don't know who this guy is. He was also by himself, according to reports from the scene. So who is he? He does seem like Canadian Ray Epps of sorts. You're right.
Maybe it's just Ray Epps.
It might be. Maybe he's been hired for this one. And then hostile reporters are also going after conservative members of parliament who support this convoy. This is a clip of member of parliament Pierre Poilievre, I think is how you say his name. It's a French name, so my apology for the butchered pronunciation. But he's responding to the media's accusations of extremism.
What do you make of the extreme elements trying to latch onto the truck convoy?
supportive.
Well, you know what I think is interesting is that when there's a left-wing protest on Parliament Hill, we don't see the Liberal media going through every single name of the people who attends to try and find one person that they can disparage the whole group with. CBC, for example, has been accused by its own employees of systemic racism, and yet we don't see the media here generalize that everyone who works at the CBC is a racist. But that doesn't mean we disparage thousands of hard-working, law-abiding, and peaceful truckers who quite frankly have kept all of you alive the last 2 years by filling your grocery shelves with the food that you eat and filling your homes with the products that you rely upon.
Yeah, and that's really it, isn't it? It's just like the nurses. Yesteryear's essential worker heroes are now today's terrorists because they would prefer to have a country where the authorities don't force them to inject foreign substances at their whim.